So if you're not asking for anything, guess what you're getting?
Welcome to Adventures in Networking. I'm James West.
And I'm Kelly West. We're the founders of ONLE Networking, the business network for people who like people.
Absolutely. Today we're going to be talking about one of the most common ways people accidentally block opportunities. We're being diplomatic there. Accidentally block opportunities in network by thinking one-dimensionally.
And we're going to talk about why we tend to make snap judgments, why our assumptions mean that maybe sometimes we just miss out on those deeper layers of a person's network. And we'd also love you to get involved with the conversation today. I'm sure you've all got your own stories, your own thoughts that you'd like to add. So do add your comments and your questions into the chat box. And also to help others understand the networking layers, if you want to answer this specific question, what's the most surprising source of new business you've ever had? That one gets the old brain box whirring, doesn't it? It takes a little bit of thought. But what's the most surprising source of new business you've had? We'd love to hear that. So let's frame this, shall we? Let's explain these networking layers. In other words, Dunbar's number, which James will tell us a little bit more about in a minute. But we see this quite often, don't we, James? We see two behaviours. I mean, we see more than two behaviours in networking, but these two that we're talking about specifically today are, one, the pre-screening the room. And sometimes we'll get a visitor come and join us, won't they? And they'll say, oh, could you send me the list of who's going to be there in advance of the meeting, please? Okay, good networkers will want that because they'll want to see who's there. They'll want to prepare for those conversations. Then maybe not so clever networkers will want that as a bit of a mining tool. So, and the other one is people looking at that, like I'm saying, looking at attendance list, but looking at it from a job title or business name perspective, not the name of the person that's going to be there, but the job category. So pre-screening the room and then looking at the attendance list. But the problem with that is you're making an instant decision about whether somebody's going to be worth talking to or not. And that's really dangerous. Okay, so we call that networking guess who. If you're old enough to remember that, you're in our field there. So guess who's that game where you clack down all the tiles, okay, and you end up with a few people left. We call it networking guess who because you're clacking down those tiles and then you're left with people that you can't immediately help. You clack them down, clack them down, then you've exhausted the network. You end up with nobody left on that lovely sea of faces on that guess who board, okay, just through looking at it the wrong way. So in other words, you're looking at one layer of networking only. And in doing that, you shut the door to thousands, literally thousands of meaningful connections.
Sounds like we need to qualify that, thousands of connections, don't we? And here's the bit of science. There's an anthropologist called Robert Dunbar. He's come up with something called Dunbar's number, funnily enough. Basically means his idea is that we all hold at any one time 150 meaningful connections. So, by the way, that's not followers or even connections on LinkedIn. These are the people that we genuinely know and trust, and they in turn trust us. It's those people that we could ring, have a coffee with, and have a proper conversation. That's your Dunbar's number. That's 150 meaningful connections per person. So if we then think about a networking room, just take an average size networking room, 20 people in the room. Is there 20 people there, or is there actually 3,000 connections because it's 20 times 150 that you could potentially reach? So if we then extrapolate that onto ONLE, where we've currently got 384 members, and I'm not good at maths, I did this earlier, 57,600 meaningful connections are effectively one step away if you get this right, Kelly.
Absolutely. And that the point is that networking isn't just about the person in front of you, the person in the room, the person you're having a one-to-one with. It's about the layers of people behind them, their colleagues, their old workplaces, their close friends, their family. That's the bit that most people miss. And I've got a real sort of life example of this without saying any names or narrowing it down in case, you know, I haven't got permission to share this, so I'll keep it relatively vague. But member of ONLE, sat in front of a client, big firm, big company, sat in front of the boss and the team looking to do some work for them. They mentioned to the ONLE member that they actually need some help in the marketing space. ONLE member sat there and gone, oh, hang on, who do I know? Ah, that person's just rejoined ONLE. I just saw their name come up in the Facebook group. I'll reach out and I'll find out if they're a good fit. That seems like quite a natural thing to happen, doesn't it? That's not that unusual. But when we did look into that, that person that had rejoined only in that marketing space actually had rejoined only as a different business, because they run multiple businesses, very successful in their first marketing business, gone more into the trade space in their second, and they wanted to come and boost the trades business. But because that only member that sat in front of that corporate client remembers them from way back, saw their name come up and went, oh, does that person still do that thing? Yeah, they do. Had a conversation. Yeah, I can absolutely still help that. I've got 2 businesses and I'll go in and I'll quote for £20,000 worth of work. Thank you very much. That's how those layers of networking work. That only member sat there hasn't directly benefited from that referral, because it's not money coming into their pocket. But boy, I bet that client wanted to work with them in their space, in the reason they were sat in that chair, because they've been really helpful and they've helped somebody else get some business too. So there's lots of layers that go on around those kind of examples, aren't there, James?
Yeah, and that's a great one about a relationship that previously wouldn't have led to anything because the circumstances of the referrer wasn't right. Yep. They didn't have that connection at the time, and that's why it's really important to be consistent at networking, because it can take years, can't it, to pay off. So we've got some more specific examples, because it's all well and good explaining the theory of Dunbar's number, but how does it actually work in practice? So the first one we want to talk about, we met someone, Kelly, didn't we, who was looking to get into property management companies. They wanted those people that have got the big portfolio of homes, money to spend, looked around the room, dismissed it. Oh, there's too many smaller businesses. These are too small, not important enough for me. We then got into that conversation and asked a little bit more about what they were looking for. And it turned out that there was someone in that very room who talked about their small business, but co-ran and co-owned a property management business with their husband in a very wealthy part of the country. And when we told said person that, they suddenly wanted that connection and wanted that conversation. It's too late, because they'd written that person off as, because on the surface layer, they can't help me, they're not big and important enough. But it was literally sat there. It's not even like you had to dig that deep. It was probably just a conversation, and that one would have come out of the woodwork, and then suddenly you've got a great opportunity. But too late, wasn't it?
Yeah, the tile was clacked down, wasn't it? Tile was clacked down on first impressions, and then you can't lift it back up again. So yeah, really good example. Yeah, another classic. Member kept dodging a call from someone because they assumed it was going to be a sales call, sales pitch. You do get that feeling sometimes, don't you? Rightly or wrongly, from people, and in certain industries as well, probably are tarred more unfairly with that brush. But kept missing the call, kept purposely missing the call, nearly didn't bother at all. Did end up answering it, and that person turned out to be connected to 3 organisations that they were desperate to get into. They could have missed a golden opportunity because they only were looking at the surface layer. They were looking at the, oh, hang on, they're going to want to pitch at me. Not, they actually might want to help me, and they actually might want to get me to where I need to be. Again, if you clack those tiles down, if you shut those doors, they're very hard to reopen. They're very hard to reopen.
I always say, it's a bit of a cliched analogy, but the branches of a tree are really a good way to think about networking, because if you cut a branch, if it's toxic, cut it. And that's understandable. You can only have a finite number of branches, but just keep a branch open, because those branches continue to grow and in different directions. And if, like Kelly said, if you clack that down or cut the branch, you're never going to access that potential stream of networking. And we're going to go into a little bit more detail how one bit of the branch can lead to another, but it's very hard to predict, as you're sat there today, which one of those branches are going to lead you to the most prosperous kind of outcome. So why, Kelly, do we think that the sales pitch is the default? What can we do to kind of change our mindset that, oh, I don't want to speak to that person because they're going to sell at me or they're not of value to me?
I think because networking has evolved so much, particularly with the addition of online networking, I think we call them hunter or farmer networkers, don't we? So the hunter generally will be more sales pitchy, more looking to get straight to the point, and then the farmers are building the relationships and they're doing it the way we like to do it. But I do think that if if you don't particularly gel that well with a person straight off, that natural propensity to have an open conversation and just get to know each other isn't as easy, because you're probably not as interested. You're probably a bit, oh gosh, this is an awkward space. So you naturally fall into that, okay, well, I'm here for business, I'll do my sales pitch. But try not to, because quite often when you're in those scenarios, just persevere with the getting to know that person, just seeing what's under the skin there. And I think if you're not sure of what someone's agenda is, ask them. Like, you're part of the conversation. Like, the amount of times I think to myself, or I hear people say, oh God, just had an hour one-to-one with someone here, didn't let me get a word in edgeways. Okay, but 40 minutes, 20 minutes, didn't you think to go, should we, oh, this is really great, and I'm finding out lots about your business. Would you mind if I just...
It's really great. I'm loving this.
I'm loving this. I'm loving being sold at, but I'm being diplomatic. I'm a nice person, but this is great. I found out lots about you. We're probably limited in time, and rather than us set up another call, are you happy if I just share a little bit about me? But there isn't anything wrong with that, and we can't complain if that's happening all the time. We do have to take a little bit of responsibility in that space, and maybe have a little bit of an awkward, can I stop there moment.
And also, it's accepting that, most people to a degree go networking to sell, or to look for sales opportunities. So try and give people the benefit of the doubt. Skilled networkers don't sell at anyone, but all good networkers, and this is the fine line between selling at people and making what you sell understood, and this is the way you can flip it around when you're having conversations with people. I'd like to know what you sell, who's it for, and how to access it, because if it's not for me, I can't refer you if I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a way to kind of go, look, I know you don't sell at me, but I need to know what you sell. And the same can work in reverse, can't it? Where you can say to people, look, can I just explain what I sell, who's it for, and who you might want to look out for, and how they access those services? Because that stops you feeling awkward about selling at people, doesn't it?
But this is the whole point, isn't it? And I think this is where the mental block goes. It's like, right, I'm in this conversation with this person, and I've either got to buy from them or they've got to buy from me. Oh, crikey. That's not the case anymore, is it? It takes the pressure off, and you actually might be in that one-to-one because you're actually interested in what they do, and somewhere down the line you might want to use them. But it's so much nicer to say, listen, I'm not here to buy. I'm not here to buy today. That's fine. I'm here to get to know you, but I do want to find out more about you, because I want to be able to share that with my network, as you've said, if it's relevant and when that comes up. And I can't do that unless I know more about you. So take the pressure off, because as a entrepreneur, as a small business owner, personal and business are very closely intertwined. It's not like one or the other, and you should find that quite naturally. You talk about one, the other will come into play anyway. But don't worry about that, because that's a nice mix.
That's the guess who thing again as well, isn't it? That if you go into networking thinking, right, I'll have one-to-ones, and I'll say, I'm just going to paraphrase this brutally just for the illustration. Oh, hi, do you want to buy this thing? Hi, do you want to buy this thing? If you do that, you'll end up getting really miserable and depressed, and you'll keep getting knocked back.
Yep.
And you're not networking, you're prospecting at that point.
Yes.
So just never try to sell to the person that you're speaking to. Explain the services, who it helps. That's when they'll sometimes go, you've just described me and I think I want it. That can happen, but you've taken the pressure off, haven't you? And I think that's the subtle difference. And that's also the difference between accessing layers and just looking at the first level layer as your only opportunity to make a sale. You're tapping into the layers, not the thing that's in front of you. We're going to talk about Kerry and Dan, and we can say their names because they both provided testimonials to the effect of this story. So I'm going to get you to explain a little bit more about this, Kelly. But Dan Scott, eyewear specialist extraordinaire. Kerry Ellis is a personal stylist. They didn't kind of make a beeline for each other. And I know Dan had and he's quite open about this, he had a bit of a one-dimensional, I go networking to look for this. And then the conversation with Kerry led to a very different opportunity. Do you want to just pick the story up there, Kelly?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it goes even deeper than that. So Dan, Manchester based, Kerry, Hampshire based. Like, these are not even people that are close by, so they wouldn't necessarily naturally fall into that spot. But I suppose I was the catalyst for this introduction in the first place. But if you look at what Dan does, eyewear stylist extraordinaire, absolutely fantastic guy, full of wonderful energy, brilliant, love what you do. If only I could get to you. Be lovely to buy some glasses off you, but that's not going to happen. Hang on a minute. Kerry Ellis is amazing, and I can get to Kerry, and I've been to Kerry and I've used Kerry. She's wonderful. She's got lovely energy. You two are going to get on really well. Why don't you have a conversation and see where that goes? So what happened then? Dan ends up coming down from Manchester to Hampshire to set up a workshop for eyewear styling at Kerry's workshop for Kerry's clients and for people networking in the area, because why not? As a power couple there completely. So they're complementary services, they get on energetically, they can help each other's clients. Why wouldn't they want to do that together? Yeah. A few only members had been up. Kerry's clients had been there. It opened up another region for Dan to be able to go and spread the word about who he is and how great he is. But he wouldn't have naturally asked for that. He wouldn't have come to a networking event and gone, oh, I'm looking for a stylist in Hampshire.
Too abstract. Well, he said in the testimonial that originally he went to networking to look for clients, which is fair. And again, that's one layer of networking. And he probably would have got those clients eventually. I'm sure he did get some.
Yeah.
But it's kind of small fry compared to the opportunity of a collaboration. And he said, what I now ask for is collaborations and connections with people like stylists, because it tends to open up networking branches rather than a sale, an individual sale. And that's a massive shift in mindset.
It is, and I think it's sometimes quite, I suppose sometimes we can get bitten, can't we? We can open too many potential doors, and we have to decide how many of those we want to manage at once, because building relationships, you've got to do it properly. But I think that, as you say, I mean, if I go to a meeting of 20 people, how many people there are going to be in the vicinity and going to want to buy glasses off me? Maybe one. And how often is that going to happen? Fine. But then you go and you look at that collaboration with Kerry. I think he's been down 2 or 3 times, and he's done it over a weekend, and he's stayed, and he's booked in 6 clients a day every time he's been there. That's off of that one connection. Like, that's layered networking, because not only that, okay, so for those 12 clients that have come and booked onto that workshop via that collaboration, they've all got a Dunbar's number. So you've got another layer out the other side of that, because when he came back, guess what? Friends, relatives, connections of the clients that you'd already been down to see were booking on. So it just keeps rolling. It just keeps building momentum.
He's a great eye stylist, but he can't make you wear your glasses, can he, Kelly? Like when we're watching Snow Horses and they show someone's looking on their phone and Kelly's going to me, what's that say then?
These are Dan Scott eyewear. Beautifully modelled, even if I do say so myself.
Let's move on.
Let's move on.
How to access networking layers. So we've given you some examples, we've given you the theory, but it's not a given that that's just going to be accessible to you. There's a strategy. We've put together a sort of 3-step strategy, Kelly, haven't we? Which the glamorously eyewear Kelly is about to share with you.
Well, the 3 steps that work every time, if you stick to them, is the little asterisk, is 1, keep an open mind. Don't judge by job title or business size. That's key. Treat everyone with respect. Everybody deserves that, and it doesn't take any time or money or too much effort, because you have no idea who they're connected to, where they used to work, where they'll be in future. Like, you don't know what their journey is going to take them on. And if you're dismissive of them now, you've cut a networking branch that could lead to more opportunities in the future, as James was saying. Number 2 is show interest and try and help. Yeah, it does sound a bit counterintuitive sometimes, but when you help first, you build up credit for people to help you back. And that's how doors open. Karma. Give out good and you will receive it back for sure. 3, be clear about your own offer. If people don't understand who you help, why you and how, why they should refer you and how to access your service, they cannot connect you properly. And I do want to elaborate on that. But that is critical in networking. I would imagine every networking event in the country there's be hundreds that are going on now. There's somebody doing an introduction that somebody doesn't understand. And that is such a wasted thing. So do think about your messaging and your offering.
Spend some time on it. I'd say, I wouldn't want to pick a number out, but far too many people just kind of give I help in this area. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no examples, there's no specifics, there's no numbers, there's no evidence, there's no real indication of how it's accessed. What does it cost? You can't refer something. What if it costs 10 grand and I'm referring it to someone who don't have 10 grand? This is the kind of thing that a good introduction and an ask, and we're going to explain a little bit more later, kind of covers. But the best place to start, and this is really massively overlooked when we talk about Dunbar's number, is your own 150 meaningful connections. Do those people that are closest to you understand what you offer? Do they get the value you bring, who it helps, how's its access? Because if they don't understand, it's very unlikely others will. Kelly, we had quite a fun example of this, didn't we? It is quite a tongue-in-cheek. Well, it's not tongue-in-cheek, it's literal and real.
It's an actual real-life example.
Don't give the name, though, because it's a bit...
No, I won't give a name. So IFA, financial advisor, I shouldn't assume that everybody knows what that means, was at a meeting one day and he said, oh, you're going to love this. He said, we were talking about messaging and marketing and making sure people understand what you do. And he said, well, I've got a real example of this because my wife, who I've been with for a long time, certainly through the entirety of my business, was at a squash club the other day, talking to her friends over lunch, having a lovely chat, come home, told me all the stories, what people were up to, what they were doing, how the kids were and all of that lovely stuff. And she said, oh, Doris is looking for a financial advisor. And I wondered, do you know any? Because she's really stuck. And he went, but that's what I do. She went, is it? Oh, IFA, financial advisor. Right, got it. Now, that's quite extreme. That is quite extreme, but that is a true story. She literally didn't put the words financial advisor in the same bracket as her husband as she understood to be an IFA. She just hadn't connected the dots. Like, that's crazy, isn't it? And that's the person that you've been with 20 plus years, 10 years of your business, and they still can't go out there and confidently say to their close friends, they know what you do. That's a massive missed opportunity there, isn't it?
It's a nice little workshop opportunity, either with that person that in networking we often have a regular catch up with. Ask them, do you get what I do? Would you be able to refer me? Do you ever spot an opportunity? Like, get into that conversation. They'll reflect back the language that you can then use, or the misunderstandings because trouble is, Kelly, when you're so close to something, we tend to leap like kind of levels of complexity, don't we? Rather than bringing it down to base. This is what it is. This is what it does. For whom? This is what it cost. We tend to leap into this kind of overly complicated, embellished version, and we just lose people, don't we?
We do. We're all guilty of that. I mean, my own uncle, every time I see him, says, how's work going? Whatever it is you do. Like, he hasn't got a clue. I'm not going to explain it to him because he's 77 years old, bless him, which isn't old, but he's not going to go out and find me clients because he's just not interested. Because if he says, whatever it is you do, why don't you tell me about it? Then maybe he's interested. You know what I mean? So you have to choose your battles in that space, don't you? But certainly people that are going to be out there kind of acting as ambassadors for you, you need to be giving them the lowdown on that for sure.
Are we using Uncle Malk as an example of a bad networker?
Yeah, and we can name him because he literally will never see this, so it's fine.
We'll show it to him.
We'll show it to him. Yeah, I love him.
He's not really interested in anything that happens outside of Totten.
This is true. Yeah, this is true. Probably a bad example, but you get the idea.
Okay, so I think it's really important to preface a lot of this stuff to say, we've given those 3 steps for success. Treat everyone with respect. Where did they used to work? Who's their best friend? That's the kind of networking layer thing. But here's the slightly inconvenient thing. A lot of those people won't ever help you. And I think there's this perception that people want the definitive formula. Well, if I do those things and I've helped that person, they didn't help me back. What was the point of doing it? But that is the give and take of networking. And realizing that it might, but it only has to be one person.
Yeah.
You do a good job for one person for a particular industry, and guess what? The 150 people that they're connected with, they're probably, some of them in a similar space, and are therefore the right connection for you. So that's why we say, yeah, you'll have a lot of, well, that really didn't give me any tangible benefit today or even ever. But then, you know, 1 in 5 people then opens up doors to a load of other opportunities. So you've got it's a win some, lose some, isn't it?
And I think it's also not getting too hung up on the, well, I've helped that person, so they need to help me in return, and It's the community that you're in, whether that's only BNI, 4N, wherever you are. If you give to the community, to whichever individuals, it doesn't matter, individuals will start to give back to you. It doesn't necessarily become a two-way thing for those two people. It's as a community as a whole.
And I think if you cover off steps 1 and 2, open mind, respect everyone, try and show interest and try and help. If you still never get any help, ask some of those people, what do you understand what I do? Do you know how you can help me? Because there are a lot of people networking that are really difficult to help because the ask is so vague, you know, and it's particularly the ones of people that go for a vague but really high level ask, such as the classic example, HR or business leaders of at least 50 to 100 employees. And I know we've done this number before. That's such a small percentage of the UK business population. And you're not telling me why they would want to be connected with you either.
That's
so
right.
Join the queue. There's hundreds of people that are trying to contact those people on a daily basis. Yeah. You're going to have to work harder or bring it down to a smaller business audience, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Bernie's in the chat there, hasn't he? Pay it forward. A good networking tool. Absolutely is. Yeah, pay it forward.
That's a great example. There is an example, isn't it? We're talking about, thanks, Bernie. We're talking about time scales of someone that didn't help you for a long time. We had a great example of this, Kelly, didn't we? Again, this is probably one not to name names, but someone knew and then didn't really see for ages, did we? Do you want to explain a little bit more?
I've shared this one with a number of the groups, but this is that, you know, it doesn't cost you anything to be a nice person, particularly when you gel really well with someone. I met this person, probably...
It was like back when we were doing in person.
It was, so probably 7 years ago, probably 7.5 years ago, I went and subbed for one of our members at their BNI group.
That's jargon.
I went and stood in for one of our members at their weekly networking meeting. Substitute, there we go. And yeah, it was lovely, great. It was good to be there. You did throw me. I've got no idea what I'm talking about now, but thank you. And at the end of it, of course, I wasn't going to join because I run my own network, but I didn't go there and talk about the network because I just wouldn't do that. That would be icky. But they did that thing of chucking you in the room with all the other visitors and shutting the door and giving you the joining form. And it was me and this person in the room, and he was visiting too. And we just got on really well. And we were like, oh, this is awkward, isn't it? You know, and we sort of bonded over the experience, kept in touch. He did eventually become a member of ONLE for the business that he was representing, but moved from that business very quickly. So he was probably only with us about 6 months. And then obviously it wasn't applicable to the role that he was in. But that whole period of what was probably then from him leaving maybe 5.5, 6 years ago, I just every now and again touch base and said, oh, how are you doing? How's things? Yeah, good, thank you. Just the odd message on a birthday or something like that. Until last year, he reached out and said, we were web designers. You're still in that space. Can you help one of my clients? And I'm like, we don't really do that anymore, but let's have a chat. Okay. I think to date, I mean, we still work with them, probably getting on for £30,000 worth of work in that 1.5 years, something like that. All because I value that person. I want to do well for them. And in return, he wants to support us, you know, and I think that just that's not always going to turn into £30,000 worth of business. And I didn't do it to turn into £30,000 worth of business. I did it because I like being in the company of that person. And yeah, sometimes something will come of it and sometimes something won't. But if you're enjoying the journey, why wouldn't you go on it?
And that's the thing that probably frustrates people about networking, is that it is impossible to predict that outcome.
Yes.
And the reason it's impossible to predict that outcome is because there is no algorithm that will predict the future.
Yeah.
You don't know where that person's going to end up to drop that opportunity in your lap, which is therefore a great lesson in just treat people well.
Yeah.
You don't have to always bend over backwards, and there's certain people that you're going to get on better with others. They are the people that you're going to want to try and help more than others, because further down the line, where's that going to lead to? And Bernie put a point, sorry, we missed this one, Bernie, but I'm going to read it out for people listening on the podcast. He said that I suspect the majority of introductions for a specific business stroke person come from just a few individuals, the individuals who really know the specific business or person. We do an exercise. We say to people, think about your 5 to 10 best clients, and then try and remember where you got them from. Mm-hmm. And it's normally always one or two sources, and it's often referrals rather than, you know, like a cold lead funnel type introduction, you know, depending on your business type, particularly B2B, one or two people. And again, the frustration is, if I could tell you who those people are now, I could charge you a lot of money, because that's going to be worth your whole business potentially for 5-10 years. But I can't tell you who those people are. All we can present is a platform for you to meet those people, and then it's up to you what you do with those relationships.
Yeah.
Anything to add to that, Kelly?
Yeah, I cannot stress enough how important it is. I think, you know, everybody's knackered at the moment, aren't they? You know, decision fatigue, like, oh, it feels like a slog. It'll be Christmas soon, and then it'll be Easter, and then it'll be something else. You know, it does feel like that sometimes. But if you keep that consistency, if you keep showing up and you keep honing your message and make sure you're talking to the right people and asking for the right thing, you will get results. I defy anybody not to get results if they are showing up, remaining consistent, being kind, being respectful, helping others where it's applicable. You will get, I'll go as far as to say, is if you're doing all those things, it is impossible for you not to get results. Okay. And if you're not getting results, one of those pieces isn't quite aligned.
And you missed off the thing that they're asking for.
Well, the thing is, for me, your messaging, and I'm coming back to that, you get what you ask for. So if you're not asking for anything, guess what you're getting? So a good example of that would be, you know, and I don't do it to make people feel awkward. I do it to try and help you when you're out there networking. Most networking groups will get you to ask what you're looking for. How can we help you? What do you want? If you say, well, you know, really, I'm just looking for anybody who wants a new website. Anybody, I can help anyone, really. You hear that quite a lot, because quite a lot of us can help anyone. But yeah, I can really help anybody who's looking for a new website. Well, I don't know anyone. I know people. And I really don't know anyone that's looking for a new website. But that's what you've told my brain. But I know Bob and Amanda and these, and maybe Joe's got a problem with his website that he might actually want to speak to you about because he's not getting on with his web designer at the moment. Like, but you're not even letting that land in my head, because you're asking for anyone who wants a new website. Whereas if you said to me, do you know what, I've been working with a really good restaurant in Winchester. I've worked on their website. I have converted their leads coming in on the website by 20%, and their bookings are up 15% as a result of it. I'd really like to speak to ABC, because that's one of their competitors. And if I've done it for XYZ, I'm pretty sure ABC would like to speak to me. So if you know ABC or the owners or somebody that works there, please would you give me a connection to them? So much easier for me to go, no, I don't know that person, but I'll have a little look on LinkedIn, see if I know them. I might even have a look at the website, see if I know the people that own it. Oh, that's cool. I might even go there. But what I might do is go, no, I don't know that person, but I do know 1, 2, 3 over here who's also in Winchester. And actually, I think they could probably do with talking to you, because they're my best friend and I want them to do well as well. So can you, by being specific, people will be sat there going, yeah, but I can do more than just websites for restaurants. Of course you can, but you have to start somewhere. And if you're continuously going to networking, you can change that message. You can ask for something else a different time. You can say something different when you're in a one-to-one. But when you get a short 30 seconds to ask for something, make it snappy.
And you could have an infinite number of websites to build if you just were the website builder for restaurants. That's what people forget, like the number of opportunities just within that space and the ease of the ask, as opposed to anyone that wants a website, is completely night and day, isn't it? We always use restaurants as the example.
It's because we like them, I think.
We don't know, do we? We don't actually go out very often.
Well, if we've got any marriage counsellors listening,
we used to talk about, like, here's a good one, like VAs, for example. You meet a lot of VAs, personal assistants, there's, you know, variants of the name, and they'll all talk about, I can do all the jobs that you haven't got time for, right? And that's fine, and that's not true, but it's the same thing that everyone else is saying. If you said, for example, I'm really good at editing and managing people's Squarespace websites, or I've got a specialism using the CRM and back office platform Zoho, almost without me wanting it to happen, the next time someone mentions a problem with Squarespace or Zoho, I'm probably going to think of that VA. Now, it might be that the other 10 VAs that I've met this week also have got experience with those platforms, but they haven't told me, therefore the trigger is not going to exist in my mind, therefore I won't give them the business. That's the difference, isn't it?
It is, and I can hear those other VAs going, yeah, but I don't want to pigeonhole myself. No, of course you don't. But at the end of the day, you've had no introduction off of that person because there wasn't enough to spark anything. So something is better than nothing, isn't it? And that, I don't know if you've subliminally heard me talking about this, but that's a very real example of last week. I probably met 6 VAs last week, and one of them talked about having a specialism in Zoho. So guess who I'm talking to? Because we use Zoho. Yeah. Like not necessarily because we need anything at the moment, but you know, we're probably the more advanced networkers that you will meet. And for me, we spot opportunities such as the Zoho space. Like we'll get asked quite a lot about different, quite technical things within business, won't we? So for us to hear Zoho as a kind of a keyword, great, I need to talk to you because if I get asked about Zoho again, guess where I'm going to point you? Yeah. There's other platforms, they've all completely gone out of my head. But if you can build a database of people that have these specialisms and almost tag them in your CRM, when somebody comes to you and says, oh, you know, do you know anybody who's really good with WordPress? Or, you know, that's probably too generic a one, but PayPal specifically, whatever it is, you can start to really give out those really good and deep referrals, because you can bet your bottom dollar that if somebody's asking for something as specific as that, it is probably going to lead to work because they have a very real thing that they need solving. And if you can help them connect the dots and get that thing solved, they will be grateful to you because you will have made that connection for them in the first place. So arm your CRM with lots of information about the people you meet.
We've covered a lot of ground. We're going to wrap up, I think, Kelly.
Yeah.
Definitely. So if you've been turning up at networking and not getting the results you want, first place we would say that you should look is thinking about these layers. One conversation is never just one conversation. It's actually a doorway to thousands more.
Yeah, exactly that. So stay curious, stop clacking down those guess who tiles, and keep the door open for what you don't yet know.
We've actually can help you with this as well. We've built a course called the Online Business Networking course. It's 20 years of our experience as networkers. I hope you can tell we know our way around a network. If you want to connect with the right people online and start getting results, it's absolutely the right place to be. Lifetime access is £99. There is a link on the screen. It'll also be in the show description. And if you use the code podcast20 at checkout, you get £20 off the course as well. Thank you for listening, everyone. Thanks for joining us at Adventures in Networking.
Yeah, absolutely. We will see you next month. Take care, everyone.